Hello and welcome back. It's me, Valerie Monroe, and me, Bookwormy, and we're here to read more of the book, Journey to Nagwanis. If you were here with us yesterday, and we hope you were, if you were here, Brogden had just been dropped off on Six Raven Island, and he saw a door, and when he knocked on the door, someone opened it. He couldn't believe who it was. It was Finley, the gnome he was searching for. Can you believe that he's there? So this is chapter 6. Brogden discovers that he has a lot in common with Finley and the other prisoner. "It's you," Brogden cried. Then he rushed forward, almost knocking the tiny gnome to the ground. He recognized him immediately. True, Finley wasn't wearing his red cap, because if you remember, it's back with that skunk. And his gray beard had thickened somewhat, but he was wearing the same outfit he'd had on in the swale. Blue vest over his shirt, short trousers, white hose, and pointy brown boots. "What on earth?" the gnome cried out in his squeaky voice. "Who are you? And how did you ever find me?" From there, many more questions tumbled out of the gnome's mouth at great speed. "Yes," replied Brogden enthusiastically. "We have met before. You were traveling in a canoe down the swale near my house, delivering treasure. You were stuck between two rocks. I tried to help you, but a storm blew in quite suddenly, and you were washed away." "I knew it," Finley said. "I knew you looked familiar. But how did you find me? I have hoped that someone would rescue me for a very long time, and at last it has happened. Oh, great joy." "Well, let's just slow down for a minute," Brogden told him. "I would love to tell you that I'm here to rescue you. But to be perfectly honest, I was just dropped onto this island myself." "Oh." Now Finley looked profoundly disappointed. "So you've no escape plan?" "No, not yet," said Brogden. Then he tried to see past the gnome and into the room in the hill. "Are you going to invite me in?" "What? Oh, yes, so sorry," Finley exclaimed. "Where are my manners? By all means, by all means." He opened the door and ushered Brogden into a small and dark room with earthen floors, walls, and ceiling. The only other occupant was a green parrot perched on a pile of branches in one corner. "Hello," greeted the bird. "That's Che," explained Finley. "He was here before I arrived." Brogden nodded to the bird. "Hello, Che." Then he decided to get right to the question that was uppermost in his mind. "Finley, where is the Amber Rose?" "Amber Rose," repeated Che. "The Amber Rose," Finley repeated again. Between the three of them, it almost sounded like an echo. "How do you know about that? And how do you even know my name? I'm sure I didn't introduce myself on that unfortunate day in the swale." Brogden then repeated the details of how he had met Finley's wife, the ruination of Finley's reputation, the denouncement of the community, and the trade embargo after Umbus failed to receive the treasure. "And the baby?" asked Finley. "Boy or girl?" "Boy," said Brogden, "and healthy too." He did not add that Finley's wife and child were holed up in an eagle's nest at the moment. Finley grinned broadly. "A boy, a bouncing baby boy," he proclaimed triumphantly. "Baby boy," repeated Trey. "Finley," interrupted Brogden, "let's get back to the Amber Rose." "Ah, yes, the Amber Rose," Finley sighed. "Safe and sound it is. And I still intend to deliver it to Umbus the moment I get off this accursed island." "But where is it?" Brogden asked. Finley motioned toward Che. "Buried underneath Che," he replied. "I didn't want those ravens getting their nasty claws on it." "Nasty claws," repeated Che. "Did the ravens bring you here as well?" Brogden asked, already fearing the answer. "Yes, and Che too. When I went down the swale during that horrific storm, my canoe was lost. The treasure box had slipped from my hands, and it took hours of searching before I finally found it in the grass along the banks. I was ready to ready to continue the delivery, and had barely gone 10 feet when I encountered one of the ugliest and smelliest trolls that I have ever seen and smelled. The nasty brute chased me all about the rocks and through the bushes, smacking his blubbery lips the whole time. He intended to gobble me up, I am certain of that. It took quite the effort to lose him, after which I took refuge in a rabbit hole, of all places. Then, when I was confident that the hideous, odorous beast was gone, I said goodbye to the bunnies and resumed my journey. I was still determined to carry on to Nagwanis and deliver the Amber Rose to Umbus as planned, but without my canoe, I could not cross Lake Wahakmo. So there was no other choice but to set off on foot around the lake, which took quite a bit longer. It was when I got around the southernmost point that, well, you were captured, Brogden said. Yes, and sprayed and blinded by a skunk, and then carried here by ravens, nodded Finley. But I didn't let go of the Amber Rose, he added proudly. No amount of pecking would pry it from my arms of steel. Eventually, they gave up caring what it was. Gave up caring, repeated Che. How have you survived? Brogden asked, looking around. I don't see any food or drink. Oh, the ravens bring me berries, seeds, and rainwater that they collect in an old bottle. They let me out once a day so I can, well, you know. If I stray too far, one of the raven pecks at me. They also tether poor Che to a branch so he can't fly away. And every day, we have to listen to their dreadful song. What song? Finley cleared his throat and began to sing in a low, ominous voice. 6 ravens are we, 2 plus 4, or 3 and 3, black as night when we take flight. 6 ravens are we, 6 ravens are we serve the mighty He. At his command we swoop and land. 6 ravens are we. Who is this mighty He that they serve? Brogden asked. It can't be that skunk, can it? Finley shook his head. I've no idea, but I don't think the mighty He is the skunk. I think he is just some sort of low-level guard. By the way, you still have quite a bit of the stink on you, he pointed out, wrinkling his nose. I know, said Brogden. It's terrible. Do you think there is anything on this island that can take it away? Take it away, repeated Che. Well, tonight the 6 ravens will roost up in the trees. They will chatter. Then they will fall asleep one by one. If you dare, once they are all snoozing, you could tiptoe around and see if there are any wild tomatoes still growing. I bathed in the tomato juice when I got here, and it helped get rid of the stink, advised Finley. But either way, you cannot wake the ravens up. Their pecking is painful. He held up his arm to reveal several red puncture wounds. See? I guess it's worth a try, said Brogden. But getting back to how we all ended up here, you said the same thing happened to Che? Oh, Che was in a terrible state, lamented Finley. He was already in this room when I got here, and he was preening to get his feathers clean and clear his eyes. I felt very sorry for him. I'm sure he's someone's pet. Somebody's got to be going crazy looking for him. So, then we were all in the same spot when we were abducted, mused Brogden. But why? Why? Repeated Che. I've had plenty of time to mull that over, Finley said. My guess is that there was something beyond that checkpoint that they didn't want us to see. I think you're right, Brogden replied. And another thing. I'm almost afraid to bring this up because I was being lifted into the air against my will and everything was such a blur, but I heard a really scary scream coming from that area. Me too. It sounded like a woman screeching, right? Asked Finley. Brogden nodded. Yes, like a woman screeching. Woman screeching, repeated Che. Then the 3 of them sat in puzzled silence for a while, during which Brogden went over everything that he knew so far. The ravens had forcibly removed them from the southern end of Lake Wahakmo and were holding them captive to prevent them from seeing something. And what would that be, wondered Brogden. Then Finley broke the silence. One thing's for sure. Now that you have arrived, we can work together to escape. I am obligated and determined to deliver the Amber Rose, bring honor back to my family name, And above all, reunite with my wife and newborn son. And you need to get home to your home by the swale, he added. And we must help Che find his owners too. Find owners, repeated Che. He cocked his head to one side, and Brogden thought he detected a note of sadness in the bird's parroty croak. So Che is very sad, I think, at being away from his owners. Brogden and Finley shook hands. Then they each shook one of Che's wings. They had a difficult task ahead of them, but there was no other choice in the matter. Step one was finding a way off Six Raven Island. Will they find their way back? Will they get off Six Raven Island? I don't know, Bookwormy, but the only way you can find out. Do you want to say it or do you want me to say it? I'll say it. The only way we can find out is if you come back next time and keep reading Journey to Nagwanis. Have a great day, everybody.